All right. Thanks, Susan. Forgot entirely about that. Okay. Welcome everyone to the monthly RASC Kingston Center meeting for April. Happy eclipse anniversary to everybody. Where were you a year ago? This photo was taken in at Lac Mégantic, Quebec, and I was out there with a few members like Mark and John and Les and uh, Charlie. A long list of people ended up out there, and just a reminder of what a wonderful day it was and what beautiful weather there was out there. The agenda for this evening. First, I'd like to welcome everyone and guests, if there are any, to the meeting, and also to welcome to the center 3 new members. Over the last couple of months, we've had members John Criswick, Catherine Smithram, and Christina Lucius Vannon. I see you have LV as on your name on Zoom. So welcome to the new members. The meeting agenda will be a feature presentation with Jeff Booth of the Toronto Centre on a talk that came about as I guess he was looking back on the Aurora event of May the 10th. At 8 o'clock, we'll have a 5-minute intermission or so. We're starting a little late, so Jeff, no pressure there. You can, don't feel pressure to meet the 8 o'clock. It's okay. Following the intermission, What's Up in the Sky with Rick Wagner. And we have a report from John Hurley, who is our National Council rep, and he will tell us what's been happening and what to look forward to, I think, mainly. So I'm going to stop my share. Jeff, you can redo your share. And it's all yours. Welcome, Jeff. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Malcolm, and my apologies, everyone. Thank you for your forbearance. I'm not sure I've ever seen technical glitches like this before. Can you guys all see a green screen? Unfortunately, the type is now black. Can you see that? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to move ahead. But before we move ahead, let's return to some context. Malcolm was saying that I'm going to be talking about an aurora experience, an aurora in general. Further to that context, there's something called the CAO. That's the Carr Astronomical Observatory. And this is the Carr Astronomical Observatory. It's a multi-acre site on top of the Blue Mountains. It's owned and operated by RASC Toronto Centre. What is there? Well, all this will become clear in a few minutes. That is a large 2-story residence where I think we can sleep up to about 30 people. I think we have in the past, certainly pre-COVID. And just above it, I don't know if you can see my cursor, there's a large green lawn area. We actually have camping there. And over to the right of the house, we actually have a facility for recreational vehicles. What else is there? RASC Toronto Centre owns and operates 3 observatories that are there. The big one in the middle is roughly the size of a 6 or 8 car garage. It's got a roll-off roof and a lovely large warm room. The smaller observatory to the left is another roll-off roof design. That little observatory is specifically for astro imaging. It's set up for astro imaging, and RASC members can get trained on it and book time in this observatory. All they have to bring is their ideas, their target, and their camera. Over on the right-hand side, we have an older empty observatory. what we do with that is members come up, stay for 2 or 3 nights, and they set up their rig in that observatory and get to enjoy chasing photons without having worry too much about dew. This observatory over to the far right, to the eastern side of the property, is actually the University of Toronto. This is that particular clamshell style. This is how they're pitching it to their alumni when they're asking for funds. The green arrows indicate 7 other observatories on site. We have a total of 11, and these ones are all privately owned. There are 5 there of the older Wayne Parker design. There's one of the newer ones, a tall, I think it's called the S style, and there is another roll-off roof observatory there. Again, all this stuff will become clearer in a few minutes. We have an observing pad. It's paved. It's got the picnic tables on it. The whole site has hydro and Wi-Fi, so does the pad. This is a view of part of the site. You can see the larger Jeff Brown Observatory with the roof rolling off. You can see some of the smaller round observatories at the back, and you can see the small the small imaging observatory down to the lower right. The other side of the property looks like this. That observatory looks like a space helmet is actually the University of Toronto's observatory. This was actually when it was still being installed. I think that it's being installed. It's been about 18 months or so, give or take. And one of our heavy lifter volunteers, as well as a man that wears a million hats, Tony Herbatin, I think is actually under the deck doing wiring at this point. The gentleman standing there is Dr. Michael Reed, one of the profs at U of T. He's also a radio astronomer, and you can see some of the other observatories on site. This is the north side of the dwelling. You can see there's a large deck there on the second floor, and that large deck, which you'll come back to in a few minutes, faces north. All right, let's get into the main presentation. Let's hope my graphics don't degrade any more than they already have. Members of Kingston Centre board, members of Kingston Centre, most especially very welcome guests, and everyone else out there in the World Wide Web. The Aurora Borealis is a mesmerizing natural wonder. In 1619, Galileo Galilei looked north and he saw colors in the sky, greens and reds, and he coined the term Aurora Borealis. He was filled with awe. Now, being filled with awe is interesting because that's the way I felt when I took this picture off the north deck that you just saw in August of 2019. That's pretty decent aurora image. How many people here have seen the aurora? Put your hands up. Okay, well, that's good. So if anyone has seen an aurora, you know what it's like. It's pretty interesting. This is what Tony Herbatin, myself, and 2 other members saw off that same deck last May 10th. Wow. So this picture is by Tony Herbatin, and it takes in a wide swath of sky. It's actually about 180 degrees from left to right. That's the west on the left side of the picture and the east on the right side of the picture. At the top of the picture, it's pretty well at the zenith. And for perspective, you can see the Big Dipper. You can see an 11% moon down there. And you can see, of course, Polaris. That's a huge chunk of sky. Now, that name, Aurora, Galileo chose it because that's the name of the goddess of the Roman dawn. And Borealis came from Boreas, the ancient Greek god, the cold north wind. Looks like he's running away from her, doesn't it? So what is an aurora? Well, it all starts here at the sun, about 160 million kilometers from Earth. That active region that you see down in the lower right corner is actually what was responsible for that historic aurora just a few months ago. Its width is actually about 15 times the diameter of the Earth. This picture was taken off that viewing area that you saw on the CAO graphics about 4 or 5 hours before we actually got to see the aurora. Now, sorry, I just have to, I'm on a tiny screen here and things are being hidden from me here. Now, some context to the historic significance referenced just a few seconds ago. There were 4 of us at the car, and we got to see this amazing display of the aurora. It has been determined that the aurora that we saw at this latitude, which is about 43 degrees north, was the most intense aurora display at this latitude since 2003. Now, it's still being assessed at more southerly latitudes, in other words, more closer to the equator latitudes, still being assessed as being something much more spectacular because you do not see them close to the equator. Closer to the equator, this aurora event that we saw may in fact have been the most spectacular at those latitudes in the past 500 years. Spectacular. We knew that something was happening. So we were getting news reports from Europe, which of course is 5 or 6 or 7 hours ahead of us, saying that there's this dazzling display. Some of us came north from Toronto to the CAO in the hopes of catching the display, assuming it presented in Canada. I didn't have to worry about that because I was on-site supervisor that weekend. I had to be there. Tough job, huh? This aurora display produced aurora at far more equatorial latitudes than usual in both the northern and southern hemispheres of North America. We had it across Canada. The United States had it. It was as far south as the Florida Keys, as well as visible in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. It was visible in the Bahamas, in Jamaica, and Puerto Rico, and it was even visible in Hawaii. In Europe, this aurora could be seen as far south as Portugal, Spain, and even the island of Sardinia. And if you were in Africa and looked north, this is what you saw across the Mediterranean. This picture is taken from Algeria. How tremendous is that? If you don't know where Algeria is, there it is. So that picture is taken from the Mediterranean. Now, not to be too northern hemisphere specific, let's go to the southern hemisphere. This is the French territory of New Caledonia. You see where it is, just northeast of Australia. It's actually about 20 degrees south latitude. And the resident there who took this photograph opined on the internet shortly thereafter, I've rarely been so happy when taking a photo. I could see the red color of the auroras with my naked eye. Frederick Desmoulins. And if you've seen red, which is one of the rare colors to see, you know how special that is. Now, his hyperbole wasn't hyperbole. It was statement of fact, and it was backed up by none other than the New Caledonia Astronomy Society, who said, and this gets back to that historic context, who said that these types of photos are the first for this territory. If you have a northern display, the northern lights, you also get the southern lights. It's just the way it works. This is a satellite image of the Aurora Australis. You can see how it's circling Antarctica. And you can also see Australia up there to the upper left. Now, this is a NASA video of solar activity on May 8th of last year, so 2 days before the display hit our atmosphere. This is actually an 8-second NASA video that covers several hours of solar activity. I'm going to play this 8-second video for you, and if you look at that bright active region lower center, you will see the eruptions. There are several of them, and they all happen in fairly quick succession. This is what sent the charged particles towards Earth. After the 8 seconds, the video will repeat, but play at a slower rate. So see if you can see these eruptions. Here we go. Oh, look at that. That's a glitch because we switched computers. Trust me. Oh, I wonder if the other videos are going to be hobbled as well. You will see several bright spots erupt right in here. All right, so we're going to have to move on.
Do you not see a play button at the bottom of the window?
Oh, no, you know what? On this tiny screen, it could just be covered up. No. No. Darn. All right. Muddling on. So these displays were, these CMEs were such that they all arrived at once, and this is a couple of Helios scientists opining on this particular event on May 8th. The corona mass ejections all arrived largely at once at the Earth, and the conditions here were just right to create a really historic storm. There's that historic word again, Dr. Elizabeth McDonald. And a colleague of hers, Teresa Neves Chinchilla, opined, we'll be studying this event for years. How interesting. This is another video from NASA, which, if it works, will show in a representational way the solar wind. There you go, it's not working. Oh, darn. Sorry about this. So this video basically shows the particles, material from the corona going out like this. And we have another video which will show nothing. This other video, which again is fatally flawed with this computer issue, it shows the coronal mass ejection sending all sorts of positive particles out into space, and the particles go over, cover the Earth as well as lots of other places, and the positive particles get ensnared by Earth's protective magnetic field. And you actually see the particles being sent to the north magnetic pole and the south magnetic pole, where you start to get the aurora glowing. The video ends with representations of atoms starting to glow. Why are they glowing? Well, they've got lots of extra energy and they want to get down to a base energy state, which means they want to give up that energy, and they give up that energy as specific frequencies of light. It's a specific frequency of light that's determined by which element it is, but also what altitude. At 240 kilometers and above, we get atomic oxygen getting excited. Now, you only get this particular color, which is red, in very, very intense solar events. This was taken at the CAO looking north. Look at all that red in that sky. Now, whoever was imaging from this observatory that night must have had a heck of a time, because they couldn't do any imaging because of all of these aurora lights in the sky. My goodness. From 120 to 240 kilometers, excited atomic oxygen at a lower level. Because of the higher concentrations of oxygen, green light is emitted instead of red. In fact, I think green light is the most commonly seen aurora color. This is actually the green light directly above us. I think this is a Tony Horvath image. What's special about this is called a coronal aurora. The crown aurora. It's right above you. How often have you seen an aurora right above you? That's how rare it is. And you can see the particles coming in from the sun. That's those straight lines, those columns. Going closer to Earth, 100 kilometers and higher, you'll get violet. 100 kilometers and lower, you'll get blue. This time it's ionized molecular nitrogen. And again, associated with stronger displays. This is looking to the east. I think this is another Tony picture. You can see the blues and the violets and some pretty washed out greens, I think. You can see the red lights in the residence. We always operate under red lights when we're doing things at the CAO. So certainly it is pretty, but sometimes it does have problems, and it had some problems, especially in the Midwest, of America, where the particular interference from this display caused havoc with agricultural GPS. Some of the large agricultural operations out there have exquisitely precise GPS systems where they're dropping fertilizer and seeds all over hundreds of tens of thousands of acres. And if your GPS is not working right, that's going to be some pretty bad farming and a lot of lost resources. As it turns out, many large farming operations had to stop for several days out there. But fortunately, that's about the worst that I think I heard of in North America. Unlike 1989, when a CME hit the Earth and it actually took out, some of you may remember, Hydro-Quebec's power grid. It was a 9-hour blackout. Millions of Quebecers were affected by it. Now, this is the point where we're going to change gears a little bit, and we're going to start to talk about imaging. But because of the issue we're having with the videos here, I'm not sure right now. This is where Roger Hill was going to be invited to jump in and discuss this video. Roger,
yes,
could you unmute yourself and just explain this still image, which represents the video that you took, I believe, in hydrogen alpha light?
That's correct. It's actually this in infrared. You can see the video. It's on my screen and it's showing in the background behind me. So I got your back on this one, Jeff.
Oh, bless you.
So if you can have a look at that, that is Aurora at 15 frames per second using an infrared camera. And I was astonished because I was chatting with Mark Kay at the time. This is not from last May. This is from October of last year, and he and I were talking. And just for fun, for giggles, I pointed my camera out of the observatory and with a wide-angle lens on it, and boosted the gain so it's grainy as hell, but actually caught movement in real time of what was going on over a very large patch of sky. You can see the so anyway, so that's what this is, not in color because it's all being done in infrared, but at 15 frames a second, this was the aurora moving. Hope that helps, Jeff.
Oh, that certainly does. Thank you very much, Roger. Roger and I go back a long time to roughly when the Huns sacked Rome, I think. Is that right, Roger?
Yeah, just after that, I think, Jeff.
What I find really interesting about Roger's remarkable video is just how fast everything is. And I know that Tony Hervatin, who I believe is on this Zoom session as well, I think he will agree that when we were watching the May 10th display, we could not believe how fast things were changing. In a matter of seconds, it would go from green to red, and we would see these great veils of different colored lights moving. It made the hair on the back of your neck stand up. To see 180 degrees red is a once in a lifetime experience. All right. Okay, so I'm going to have to throw myself on my sword again here because we actually have several videos here, and yes, none of them are going to play. Okay. Well, fortunately, we have some stills. One of our members, Richard Sewards, took this. This is not the May 10th aurora. This is another one. This was at Tobermory. So a pretty dark sky area. It was taken with a standard DSLR. I think he had used a wide angle lens, but you can certainly see the reds, which is indicative of a very strong solar disturbance coming to Earth. You can see greens. It looks almost like a lime green yellow in there. Now, you don't have to be in a dark sky to get an aurora image. This was taken at the David Dunlap Observatory, which is in Richmond Hill. This is not May 10th. This was later last year, taken by member Claudia Oriani. Now, Kingston has, I think the greater Kingston area has a population of about 100,000 less than Richmond Hill, and Richmond Hill is right at the north end of the GTA. So if Claudio can take this picture with a smartphone, Samsung smartphone, if you get an aurora in Kingston, get out there and start taking pictures. I like the composition of this particular image. He's got the main observatory at the DDO on the left, and over on the right, you see one of the 3 observatories that are atop the administration building. This is full disclosure. This is my favorite photograph, not because it's my photograph, because it upends all of my expectations about the Northern Lights. Why? These are the Northern Lights filling the sky. I think that's pretty obvious. But there's an Easter egg here. Why has it turned me inside out and upside down? Because we're not looking north. We're looking exactly south. Exactly south. So the sky to the north and to the south, filled with color, filled with light, filled with magic. Look south to see the Northern Lights. That's probably a once-in-a-lifetime event. Looking north again, that's the University of Toronto's observatory. I believe this is another Tony Hervatin image. This is of the this is of the coronal aurora, looking straight up. You can see those streamers, you can see those columns coming straight in. What I find remarkable about this image of Tony's is how over in the top left corner and to the left side, you see this area of green sharply and suddenly cut off, and you see a deep, deep blue. It's a magical, magical palette. And to the lower left, you have clouds starting to roll in, lending another dimension to this. I don't know if it's science or art, but it certainly is magical. Well done, Tony. Oh, and here's another coronal image. Again, look at the colors, how different they are. And there's that red light house again, but there's something interesting in this image. If you near the top center, you'll see the Big Dipper. But again, we know that a coronal aurora is the rarest kind of aurora, and we're looking at one right now. This looked like a huge ghost or something that was alive because it was changing and moving all the time. That rare, well, that streak, the International Space Station just decided to show up and fly and orbit through it at the same time. So what are the chances of getting an image of a corona aurora with the International Space Station going right through it at the same time? It's a situation that's so rare that 1 + 1 does add up to 3 sometimes. Right. We showed some pictures here, and when it comes to taking images of aurora, there are some boilerplate guidances. Get to as dark a spot as you can manage, get away from city lights. If you have access to a good northern horizon, you don't want buildings, you don't want trees. And of course, use normal dark adaptation protocols when you're doing your aurora thing. And please stay away from white lights, including your cell phone's bright screen. And if you have any red gel filter paper, put it over your DSLR's screen, over your phone screen if you have to. One bit of advice is to move around, get different compositions to your images. Don't stand in one place for all of your experience. Get your camera or your cell phone on a very stable platform. These are going to be slightly longer than normal exposures. A tripod is really, really very, very helpful. In fact, it's a must if you ask our opinion. And if you're able to do a remote shutter or a delayed shutter release to reduce shake in your camera, by all means do it. You want to focus to infinity, and if you have a lens hood, use it because it's going to fight your dew. If you have a fast lens, an f1.8 or an f2, as opposed to an f3.5 or an f5.6, use it. Get as much light captured as fast as you can. You saw some of the photographs there have super, super wide fields of view, 180 degrees, quite literally. You want to use a wider lens because you're imaging a lot of sky. And if you happen to have an ultraviolet filter or something like that in the front of your lens to protect it, as many do, please consider removing it because those filters can, in fact, stop some of the aurora photons getting into your sensor. Test exposures. We found that exposures in the 3 to 20 second range worked quite well, but it's a dance between your exposures and also your ISO, because if you use a faster ISO, you can get away with a shorter exposure. But if you use a faster ISO, you might get more noise in your photographs. So take test exposures, assess your results. Consider taking blank frames between your sequences. They're good markers. That's a good point from Tony. One thing that I discovered is that when you're in a dark, accommodated environment for your eyes, you can be looking at an image on a screen that looks great, but the next day, when you're not dark accommodated, your eyes are back to normal light, the picture you thought was so super last night, it's really dark. So consider bracketing your pictures. Go from underexposed to overexposed. You may find that the next day when you're in normal light, those images that you took last night that you thought were overexposed then are actually quite good. I think these are a couple of Tony pictures. This is basically a before and after. The one on the left is a 15-second exposure, and I think Tony was using ISO 200, which is relatively quite slow. To bring out the color that was there in this, very basic astro processing, we just gave it a brightness boost, and you can see what came out. If he had used perhaps ISO 800 or ISO 1600, he likely could have gotten exactly that image with just a few seconds exposure. Here's another one. I believe this is Tony as well. It's the coronal aurora. 15 seconds at ISO 200. And to process and bring out the data that was there, we just gave it a brightness boost and a color saturation boost, just a very gentle one, just to bring out the details. But again, if we had used ISO 1600 or 800, we could have got this as well without any manipulation of the data. If you want to chase your own next aurora experience, there is aurora forecasting out there, that's for sure. So solar maximum, I see that the change to computers has messed up this graphic quite badly. Solar maximum is right now, and it's going to continue, I think, until July. So that means we could have several more really interesting aurora experiences. But even though solar maximum is only going to continue to July, it's not going to drop off. It's not going to fall off a cliff. It's going to decrease. So fingers crossed that we are going to have lots of aurora opportunities in the next couple of years. Now, the most common predictor for such forecasting is the KP index. It's a German word. I used to know what it meant, and I can't remember it. It describes the disturbance of the Earth's magnetic field caused by the solar wind, caused by all those positive particles coming in from the sun. So the faster the solar wind blows, and it actually blows at different rates for different storms, the faster it blows, the greater the turbulence. So the KP index ranges from a low of 0 to a high of 9. And Tony will correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think last May 10th, it was actually 9+. So when you get up to the 8s and the 9s, it means a really intense geomagnetic storm is predicted and on the way. And the KP index is calculated using data from 13 geomagnetic observatories spread throughout the world. Now you can easily Google KP index and get charts such as this that show you what to expect if the forecast is KP0, quiet, very low, faint glow, faint green. But if you go out to say KP8, strong storm, extremely high, KP9, extreme storm, and you start seeing different colors. You start getting up into the reds when you get into the higher numbers. And of course, with the lower numbers, you're down there with the greens, which we know is the most common color. Now, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration in the States, NOAA, to those who know it, publishes online all sorts of aurora predictions and graphics that are super easy to follow. This actually is their prediction for last May 10th. You can see that back then they were predicting that this aurora was going to be visible down to the Carolinas. There are other graphics on the NOAA site that present this kind of data differently, but it's very accessible, very easy to understand. And if you get a chance to chase an aurora, this is an excellent tool to make use of. Well, this is another slide that's blowing up real good. One of the most controversial things in recent years about the aurora borealis is, well, some people are saying they heard noises. They heard buzzings and clickings and crazy things like that. Well, I'll let you in a little secret. I used to live in the mid-north for a short while, and I walked into town one night, population 600, under a remarkable aurora display. And it was just, the whole sky was alive. And I and my buddy, we heard a buzzing sound very similar to that which you hear when a fluorescent tube fixture beside you is starting to go, like that 60 cycle buzz. My dentist, who actually practiced in the far north, he and I had a conversation one day, and he said, I used to hear it too, but I was too afraid to talk to people about it because I thought they would think I was crazy. Well, guess what? He's not crazy, and I'm not crazy, despite what my wife might say once in a while. Scientists in Finland set up audio equipment, and they discovered that for about 5% of the strongest aurora displays, if there was a temperature inversion where cold air was trapped under a lid of warm air, and I think it was in a village called Fiskus over there in Scandinavia, they found that atmospheric electricity caused a sonic reaction at the interface between the warm and the cold air. And this happened about 75 meters altitude. So if I'm living in the mid-north and I'm walking into town and there's a temperature inversion around me, and I can hear something that sounds like a fluorescent tube buzzing above me, that sounds about 75 meters above me. The aurora, hundreds of kilometers above me. So there is sound. All right, let's get some aurora factoids. We know that some guy called Galileo, you know, the guy who in 1609 pointed a telescope towards Jupiter and saw moons and basically changed the world of science. Well, he came up with the name of aurora borealis, but who came up with aurora australis? Captain James Cook. There he is there. I think this was in his trip on the Adventurer around 1775. Australis means southern, so the southern aurora. No, I don't have all my, I can't see my notes. This is a 200 a Norwegian 200 kroner note with the scientist whose name I cannot quite remember, who first determined that the aurora was linked to solar activity. So they honored him by putting his face on their 200 kroner note, and the backside of the note has graphics related to his research. What is this? It doesn't, geez, if you've got an old boat and you know what woodworms are, this might look familiar. But it's not. This is actually a 30,000-year-old piece of Cro-Magnon art it was taken from NASA, copied from NASA. And there's academic thought that this is actually the first known representation, believe it or not, of an aurora borealis. Go figure. Now, if you go to your RASC Observer's Handbook on page 188, you will see that there's a wonderful graphic that represents and communicates to you the various features that you can see in an aurora. Do we have auroras on other planets? Sure we do. Here, they're in Jupiter, as you can see here. They've been seen on Mars as well. Be interesting to see if any of the moons out there have this sort of thing, but I guess you need some sort of atmosphere. But that's amazing, an aurora on another planet. Okay, so in summary, as we're coming to a close here, and again, I apologize for the lack of videos and other things that are going on here. If you want to experience an aurora display, Solar Max is going to continue for several more months. In fact, it's going to be very strong even for a couple more years. Monitor the KP index. Get thee to a dark site. Observe dark adaptation protocols. And if you're taking photographs, take test images. Find settings that work best for you in that moment. So despite all the difficulties here, it's been a pleasure and an honor to be here for you and to share this remarkable experience with you. These are the 4 people that were at the CAO, taking a selfie, of course. That's Tony, Terry, Jean, and Jeff. And if you have any questions, I'll be pleased to try and answer them. Thank you very much for your forbearance.
Jeff, thank you. That was wonderful. Those experiences are unforgettable. I mean, I was once a member of where I had a joint membership with Toronto Centre, and I did spend some time at the Carr Observatory, and I can only imagine how special it was that you were on duty that night. It was your lucky night. Congratulations, and on behalf of everyone, thank you so much for your presentation.
Hiya, Jeff.
Well, thank you. And again, I apologize for the technical glitches we had, but
no worries.
We muddled through, didn't we?
Yeah, I know. I completely understand. It's just beyond our control, nothing we could do. But you did give us a great show, and I would wonder if anyone out there would like to ask any questions.
Sure. If you might. Hi, Jeff. It's Tony here. Enjoyed seeing the presentation. I did want to say before you took any questions, I do have the PowerPoint up and running here, and I can show the videos if you like. I think if I share my screen.
Oh, absolutely. Let me make you a co-host there, Tony, okay, so that can happen.
I've tested it. They're all running fine because I have the same presentation here.
Jeff, you have to stop your share.
With pleasure. Okay. Thanks, Tony.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so now let me find you, and why aren't you at the bottom? Oh, because you're somewhere else. And okay, you should see yourself now as co-host.
Okay, we'll try to share. Okay, I see button. And okay, you should now see
a presentation full screen.
Yeah. So, Jeff, do you see that lines of magnetic force?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Tony.
Okay, so this is the slide immediately previous to Elaine DeSantos' time lapse. If you want to go from here, just say next, and I'll advance for you.
You want me to do the voiceover?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. So one of our members, Elaine DeSantos, managed to capture a wonderful video of an aurora, I think of October last year, near Orangeville. And she was able to process it in such a way that her short video, 20 minutes into 24 seconds, her short video shows much like we saw earlier, shows wonderful motion in this aurora display. So go ahead, next.
Okay, and should be running now.
Oh, yeah.
Do you also see the bar at the bottom scrolling?
Yes. Oh, no. Oh, I do now, yeah. So that's a compliment to Roger Hill's video.
Sorry, what year did she take this? Last year?
This was last October.
October. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. We could see it again, or we could run on. So this is the same one again. And Elaine said this was 20 minutes. But one thing that's worth noting here is notice how quick the motion is, because it's the way that she assembled her time lapse. Okay, I guess next slide then, Jeff.
Please, yes. Okay, so we were talking about the rarest aurora earlier on, the coronal aurora, looking straight up, and I think these are Tony's images, 93 seconds of, Tony, this was 10 times 15-second exposures.
Yeah, so they were
processed in a movie maker to produce a 93-second video. So this is at 1.5 times the actual speed. Okay, Tony, next.
Yes, and it's worthwhile noticing that Jeff did all the processing. I just did the data. So you see the difference in speed because mine were longer exposures. So the downside there is it does tend to sort of muddy the definition structure, but it is much more data.
Brighter. Is it brighter because of that, I guess?
It's brighter because they were longer exposures, but a lot of it has to do with the way Jeff processed it as well. It was not this intense when we saw it, but definitely all of those colors were absolutely there.
Do you remember what time it was when these were shot?
These were actually not that long after sunset, because we were already shooting I was shooting pictures. We got there well before sunset, and I was already shooting north during twilight and even just in the afterglow, and there was already a marbling showing up in my images, but they weren't visible to my eye.
I was out of the country when this happened.
Oh, well, I don't know if Jeff mentioned it, but we actually had a bit of a tip-off because we were watching the reports coming in from France and elsewhere and seeing these pictures, and we thought,
oh yeah,
this is certainly worthwhile, and taking a risk to go out of the city.
The community was abuzz.
Yes, for sure, absolutely. Yes. But all too often these displays are fleeting. So it happened in France. Well, how many hours before the Earth darkens here? But so it was kind of a risk. But anyway.
Now the Earth got her bell rung that night.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So Jeff, I'll let you do this.
Okay, so here's another one, different colors, this time looking east. I believe this is the one that has a lot of blues and violets. Again, it's a bunch of DSLR images were processed into looking like a 40-second movie. I think this is the one where the clouds are coming in. No, not yet. Okay, so here
this is east, yes.
Yes.
Just looking towards Collingwood. That's that glow that's here. Can you see the pointer?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Collingwood this way.
Look at those stars.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things that I recall from this is the movements were not consistent. Some of them are fast, some of them were slow, some of them are fine, some of them were massive. It was ever changing at so many levels all the time.
You notice how slow this one was moving.
Yeah.
Okay, so northwest, and I guess this is done to the process to present the actual speed. So we have 10 2.8-second exposures represented here as a 28-second video. Okay, Tony, next.
And that's Jeff actually here in the foreground. There you see him. This is the town of Thornbury down here.
I actually, interesting point. I actually found myself running out of superlatives in my loud discussion here, and I actually morphed over into profanities.
Yes, we talked about that. Yes,
and I was mentioning it to a friend of mine who's actually a practicing psychologist, and she said, "Oh no, that's quite normal when you run out of, really powerful words to say." Okay, so looking north again to Thornbury, and I guess this is an actual speed image. Yes, so you can see the porch just slightly off to the left. Gentle movements, but movements nevertheless.
So that's actually the surface of Georgian Bay here that you can just see.
Mm-hmm.
So we're about 250 meters up from the water in altitude.
Tony, I'm glad you're here.
Happy to help. And then looking northwest. These both Jeff and I used the same wide angle lens. And I used the Canon T5i, but what camera were you using, Jeff?
I was using T5i, so were you, and I think you were using a 180 degree lens.
That's right.
I was too, a different lens.
Yours is the Bauer.
Yeah, it just goes to show you lots in common.
Right, mine was the Rokinon. This is, I think, one of my favorite ones. I think from.
Does anybody else have any questions while this is showing?
I put one in the chat.
Oh, okay. Let me look. Is that Ed?
And I think that's it then. I'll just put you back to the question, I guess.
Thanks so much, Tony.
Okay. Anyway, we can leave.
When and where is the best display you have ever seen besides the CA, the car?
Oh, for me? Oh, easily hands down. In 2000. Jeff. Oh, sorry, Jeff. Oh, sorry.
The question is. Yes. Go ahead.
For me, it was 1969, late winter, northwest of Sudbury, in a little town no longer there called Creighton Mine, Ontario. We lived outside of this town of 600. There were no lights. We had to walk into town. It was about 1.5 kilometers, 2 kilometers, and it was while walking in late one night, I think it was around 10 o'clock at night, that we got that aurora that I described, where we could hear the buzzing.
Wow.
It was electric. And I never ever thought I would beat that experience, but last May 10th beat it hands down.
Absolutely. I don't have anything comparable to May 10th in my life.
Well, the fingers crossed we're going to get it again in the next few months.
Yeah.
There was one not long after that. I can't recall what month, but I was home when that one happened, and it was probably not as intense, not as long lasting, or it was probably just like an 8 versus a 9. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I did get some nice photos finally during this cycle, Max.
Yeah, and it's still going to go on for a little while, and I would urge anyone who's listening, who is interested in pursuing these kinds of images, to make a little bit of effort, even if you have to drive half an hour or even an hour. You guys are just you're an hour and a half south of the North Frontenac dark sky site. Can you imagine what an aurora would be like there?
Our dark skies begin probably 15 minutes north of town. So
lucky guys.
Wow. My head's blowing up. I'm so envious.
Yeah, we'd love to have that.
Yes.
Any more questions for Jeff?
I'll just make one comment if I can. Thank you very much, Jeff, for putting together, making the effort to come out and present your work mostly again. Yes, I had some data in there, but it was very fun listening to everything again. I did want to mention the other display that was very memorable was in September 2001. Did anyone see that one? It was the Saturday right after 9/11. And
Oh,
we were at Algonquin Park, Mew Lake, because the Toronto Centre had its Algonquin Adventure that weekend, and we were set up to do public education. And so we had lots of people down at the beach at Mew Lake, and the astronomers were all getting really disturbed that it was not getting dark until we found out that it was an aurora. And that aurora it ended up being a full corona, full sky aurora right down to Sagittarius. And no word of lie, I was able to walk among the people laying on their backs on the grass, looking up at the sky. Now, this is new moon in Algonquin, and I was able to clearly see the expressions on their faces and the colors of their clothing by the light of the aurora.
Wow.
amazing.
And that was memorable to me. That was one of my highlights as well.
Wow. Okay. Tony, if you wouldn't mind stopping the share.
Yeah.
I appreciate your comments on that. It's great to hear. And Jeff, as I say, on behalf of the Kingston Centre and everyone that's in attendance, thank you so much for your presentation.
The pleasure and the honors. Wonderful. Thank you.
Now, we're going to take a short 5-minute break. David Levy, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. I'm right here.
Could I get you to perhaps say some words after the break to start us off?
Yes, you may. I will be here after the break. I would love to do that. And I wanted to say, while you have me on the air here, that I thought that the lecture that I just heard now was absolutely stunning. It brought me back to the first aurora I saw, which was my favorite, July the 8th, 1966. And 2 months later, my first corona, September the 3rd, 1966. I did see the aurora that you talked about from Arizona. It was so big, I was able to see it pretty strongly from my home here in Arizona.
Wow.
If I may, on a point of personal privilege, Mr. Chairman, David Levy, that comment coming from you, sir, I'm going to tattoo it on my forehead. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, let's take 5 and come back, and then we will have Rick Wagner with What's Up in the Sky. So back in a minute, back in 5, back at 12 minutes after.
That was stunning.
I'm gonna reopen the meeting, I guess, and the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to turn off my share because I would like to spotlight David. David Levy, the floor is yours. Thank you for.
Well, thank you so much. And one of the things that I wanted to say is that being here with all of you, I know that everyone in this group has suffered loss of one form or another. The loss of grandparents, we've all suffered that, the loss of parents, occasionally the loss of a sibling, and even less occasionally the loss of a spouse. But my poem tonight is going to take us up into the sky regarding the concept of loss. This poem was written by Hannah Sinesh. It's called Yesh Kochavim, and I'm going to read the English translation of it. There are stars up above. So far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever so brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up and the northern lights that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. Thank you very much. And back to you.
Thank you very much, David. Beautiful. Okay. Rick Wagner, are you ready?
I am here.
I will hand the floor over to you.
Let's see if we can do a share here. Uh-oh.
Come on.
Let's get rid of that. There we go. All right. Can anybody see anything yet?
Yeah.
I see your screen very easily.
Okay. So astronomy for the month of April 2025. A couple of possible local events. I haven't heard. 12th of April, Saturday, is supposed to be the observatory open house. Given that there's a grad students strike on at Queen's, I'm going to guess that may not be happening. Okay. 3rd of May, International Astronomy Day. No BAA events online in the coming month. Very sad. They seem to be gradually moving away. I'm going to start including a few more of the AAVSO things. There's a spectroscopy special interest group meeting, which is probably over already. I think it runs exactly the same time as our meetings. On Sunday, the Cataclysmic Variable Stars Special Interest Group has a talk by Dr. Paula talking about studying cataclysmic variable stars, the crucial role of citizen science. She does UV observations of these stars with the Hubble Space Telescope, and amateur observations are absolutely critical to determining when and if a star is going into outburst. On the 19th of April, the Photoelectric Photometry Special Interest Group has their get-together. Photoelectric photometry is kind of outdated. At least it's now become much less common, but it still has its proponents and certainly has its places where it's absolutely irreplaceable. So interesting group to get involved with. On the 3rd of May, how NASA, this is their monthly webinar, how NASA and citizen scientists help avert disaster. And I'm not sure how the title relates to the subject. They're talking about monitoring exoplanets. So we'll see what happens there. Lennox and Addington Deep Sky Viewing Area has an astrophotographers assemble on the 19th of April. They have the laser-guided star tour on the 25th and 26th of April. You have to register in advance for it. And up close with the moon on the 10th of May. So they have observing of the moon. The North Frontenac Astronomy Park has a shoot the moon session on the 12th of April. That's this Saturday. And apparently on the 27th, they're going to be watching for the Lyrid meteor shower. And I hope they're not too disappointed, because that's not when it happens. April hours of darkness, you can see we're getting way down, 6.5 hours of astronomical darkness by sort of the late parts of the month. So definitely getting into solar observing time. Up in the sky for April, on the 11th of April, Mercury and Saturn are quite close together, about 7 degrees below Venus, in the above the eastern horizon, shortly before sunrise. Out canoeing in the mornings now. I'm amazed that, it was only a couple of weeks ago that Venus was in inferior conjunction, and now in twilight, it's just gleaming way up from the horizon. It's really impressive. So that's a good guideline to see if you can find Mercury and Saturn, which are both sort of first magnitude-ish and will probably be fairly difficult in the twilight. The following morning is full moon, or the following next evening, I guess. The 18th of April, the waning gibbous moon will be just off the spout of the Sagittarius teapot. This is about as far south as it's possible for the moon to get. So it's kind of an interesting thing to watch. 20th of April, the last quarter moon. 21st, Mercury is at its greatest elongation west, however, with a very low slanting ecliptic. It's a very poor apparition. 21st of April into the morning of the 22nd, the Lyrid meteor shower peaks. And this is not a major shower, but still worth getting up to see. The 25th, Venus and Saturn are very close together with the moon nearby, low in the east before sunrise, and 7 degrees down and to the left from the moon, you can try and spot Mercury. It'll be quite low. New moon on the 27th. Also on the 27th, Venus is at greatest illuminated extent. So as Venus continues to move around from inferior conjunction, its crescent gets smaller but wider. And so this is when it has its sort of maximum total area on the surface of the sky and reaches its brightest magnitude, almost minus 4.8. An amazing thing to see. Sky events in May or early May up to our next meeting. This is a really good one. The moon is going to occult Gamma Cancri, and you'll know that star. There's the two stars in Cancer that are just up and to the left and just down and to the left of M44. The one up and to the left is Gamma Cancri. That's Acellus Borealis, and the other one is Acellus Australis. The names are similar enough to Aurora Borealis in Australia that seems to fit in. But I think this is going to be a really attractive occultation because first you get to watch Gamma Cancri disappear on the dark limb of the moon, and Mars and M44 are very close by. Mars just about to head across the north limits of M44. The next morning, first quarter moon. The 5th of May, the Saturn ring plane passes north of the sun. I was very negligent last month that I didn't tell everybody that we were going through the Saturn, or maybe I knew about it, but it was so low in the sky that there was little point in wondering about it. But because from the viewpoint of Saturn, the Earth and the sun are not at the same declination, the plane of the rings goes through the Earth back on the 23rd of March. And now on the 5th of May, the plane of the ring is actually going through the sun. So what will happen is you'll be able to see the narrow rings around the planet, but there should be no shadow because the sun is shining exactly along the width of the rings. And the rings are so narrow that the shadow will be absolutely invisible. So that'll be worth looking for. From the evening of the 5th of May to the 6th morning of the 6th of May, the Eta Aquariid meteor shower peaks. This is not a great shower for us. It's the radiant is in the south, so it's a much better shower south of the equator, but still worth getting up to see. Oops, here's 9 Métis at Mag 9.6 is at opposition. That should have been down in my small planets page. And the 12th of May, full moon. That's just about on our next meeting.
Yeah, just about.
T-Corbor, as Kim mentioned on the chat group, it's still faint, still very high in the sky before morning twilight, and in fact, inconveniently high in the sky if you're using a Dobsonian. Still hoping it's going to burst at some point. The major planets, Uranus is very low in the east after sunset, probably invisible. Jupiter is still quite bright, but low in the west after sunset. Mars is still quite high in the southwest, well worth taking a look at, and sets in the early morning. The other four, Mercury, Venus, Neptune, and Saturn, are all quite low in the eastern sky before sunrise. Difficult to see. So small bodies, on the 26th of April, 4 Vesta at magnitude 5.6 passes just to the lower right of the star 16 Librae. So the 4.5 magnitude star will help point you to Vesta. Vesta is the only asteroid you can see with the naked eye. And just, what, a week or so before opposition at Meg 5.6. Here's the view in Stellarium. You can see Virgo. It looks like it's in Virgo. The boundary between the two is just above it. But the little 4.5 magnitude star that will help point you to Vesta. Thanks to Mark K for alerting me to Comet Swan, now C 2025 Swan F2, I think. And it's, I don't know how bright it is, probably somewhere around 9th magnitude. It's really low in the dawn sky and getting lower. So the earlier you get out to see it, the better chance you're going to have. I don't know how these people are getting such great pictures of it, because it's going to be low and getting lower. As we get to the end of the month and into May, I think it starts actually coming up in the northwest sky after sunset. The asteroid occultations, Mike Haynes is once again the big recipient of the largesse. An occultation by Morrill goes through Morrisburg. You'll notice its center line is over Riverside Heights between Morrisburg and Upper Canada Village. This is a short one, under a second, but a 9 magnitude drop. And it's an 11.4 magnitude star, so should be easy to find. On the 3rd of May, also going right through Riverside and taking in Morrisburg, an occultation by Tangshan, 6 magnitude drop. It's a 12th magnitude star, so a little more difficult, and also just a half a second occultation maximum period. And then finally, we have Kunovac on the 10th of May, goes just north of Kingston, takes in all kinds of people, Bell Rock, Yarker, Centerville.
Harrowsmith.
Just barely catches Sydenham, Harrowsmith, Davidson's Beach. So quite a number of our outlying observers are in the target for that one. We look forward to great reports at the next meeting.
Yeah, if it's clear.
Yeah. Any questions?
I don't see any questions. Thank you very much, Rick.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. John Hurley, National Council report.
Hello, everyone. The next National Council meeting is this Sunday. And what else we have coming up later this month is the General Assembly. I get a chance for all RASC members to get together and participate with your fellow rascals from coast to coast to coast. All you have to do to participate is go to the regular national webpage, rasc.ca, learn more and buy tickets. The weekend of April 26th and 27th. And they have a lot of interesting things going on. A rollout of the NOVA Observers program, some keynote speakers coming up, some talks about dark sky preserves, astrotourism that's out there. Tickets for members are only $30. And if you're a youth member, $15. This is open to non-members also, but it's a good time. It's a chance to workshops that are going on. They always have a couple of different streams going on, so you can choose which you prefer, and the other programs are recorded so you can catch them later. So it's not like you have to be there and only catch one and wonder what happened with the other. We can catch up on all of them. And as you can see from the present programs here, there's, what's going on in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, RASDART site programs that are up and coming, citizen science capturing aurora. I don't think that'll top ours tonight, but I'm sure it'll be an interesting. What happened with the lunar eclipse from Michael Watson. All kinds of interesting things. And for the most part, many of these programs are presented by your fellow members. We have an update on the Castor mission. And then on Sunday, using your DSL on a tripod. So things for people, all kinds of levels and interests. And after the main programs at 5 o'clock, they have a little what the attendees, they do a hub thing where we all create a little avatar and roam around a little space station, and you can sit around and chat with members from coast to coast about whatever tickles your fancies at the time. What's going on, what's going in the sky, what's going on in the various cities. Just sit and catch up with people that you may have seen on the email lists or from attending other centers meetings on Zoom, and have a chance to sort of have a little chit chat and catch up and get to know each other better. So I encourage everybody to register and attend, because the Royal Astronomical Society is a group for its members and by its members. So take advantage of what's offered out there, and you never know what you're going to learn. And it's always fun. So thank you.
That's great advice, John. Thank you very much. Absolutely. When these programs are out there and available, I'm sure that there's something of interest for everybody. Now we have one more presentation, which I did not mention in the agenda because it came up late. But Bruce Elliott, if you're still with us, I don't see your, oh yeah, there you are. Would you like to give us an update on the Science Rendezvous plans? You feel free to share your, oh, let me see. Let me make you a co-host so you can share. Hold on a second. I'm not sure if you need to share, but I've just made you a co-host. And you're muted, so if you're speaking, I can't hear you. You're still muted. There you go.
Okay, good. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah. So I don't really have anything to show at the moment,
Okay.
but thanks for that. But I just wanted to remind everybody that so the Science Rendezvous is happening on May the 10th, and it's really an exciting outreach opportunity especially for the mid to younger aged astronomy and other science wannabes. And it's so it starts at 10, and several people from from Ras Kingston Center are planning to be involved in this, and um, I'm so definitely people from people from last year, including people such as Susan and Kim and Kevin, um, and there's several. So Rick, I believe you've put your name on the list, and Lori. I'm just giving the first names right now, but it's so great. We've had so much time, so much fun last year and in previous years, and I think we're all looking forward to this again. Um, and so just a couple of minor, well, rather major, but I just want to say that we've got things well under control. And I will be going down there probably around 8:30 or so to make sure everything's in moving along. And we have to, I've reserved the usual tent that we would have, and we'll have 2 or maybe even 3 tables. And yeah, and so one thing that we have to remember to bring along are the electrical cords for the telescopes. And I'm just saying a few things of reminder right now, but we'll be in much closer communication as we get a little closer. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask, or any of these people involved want to add something further to what I've said?
I would just like to, it's Susan Bruce, and I just wanted to point out that if people need to remember to dig out last year's t-shirt, if they didn't order a new t-shirt, they're
All right.
allowing all volunteers have to be wearing a Science Rendezvous t-shirt, but rather than load us up with yet another t-shirt that we may or may not wear again,
Mhm. Yeah.
they said we can use last year's.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. And just a reminder that that's the indication that we actually are registered as the people who are involved are actually registered, and this is all very important with respect to the insurance and so on that they have. So this, for safety of especially when working with minors and so on. So that's a very thank you, Susan, for mentioning that. And yeah, so we just hope we're going to have a really nice day with the weather. But even if it's not 100%, we'll have lots of things to chat about, and we'll have a few posters, and we have some exciting cards to give out to kids just learning about what the planets are about. And so yeah, so I guess thanks very much for everybody who's agreed to join me again this year on this.
Can I ask a question, Bruce?
Yeah, please. Who's that?
Roger.
Yes, Roger.
So I'm not sure that I'll be able to make it that day, but I might be able to.
Okay.
Will somebody who is just able to show up on the day, would they be welcome?
Actually,
Even
the
though
answer
I
to
can't
that,
order a t-shirt?
yeah, the answer just showing up is my understanding is no. So you have to I can mention that I could mention it on your behalf, but I think there is a place where you would need to sign up by, and there's a short form to fill out and that sort of thing. But yeah, it would be fantastic if you were able to come.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to because
Could he sign up and then just not worry about it if he doesn't make it?
well, I don't want
Okay,
to pay for it.
yeah. Let's sign you up, and if you can't make it, that's fine. And same with anybody else. It just if you have the intention of possibly coming, you really do have to be signed up. You can't just show up.
Okay.
That's the way that works.
And when will we know if it's going to take place due to the strike that's going on at the moment?
Uh-huh. I think that it is going to take place, but I have some contacts. I can inquire further on that. I'm emeritus right now, and I keep in touch with a lot of colleagues. So
Okay, fair enough.
I will come. I will source that out and get back to our whole group. So watch out for an email. Not well, yeah. So on the Kingston astronomy chat, I'll sometime within the next few days. And if you have any other specific questions, please draw it to my attention. You can do it through the chat, but flag it so that I know, recognize that it has actually, I don't look at every chat. So flag it as something to do with the SRV.
Okay. Thanks, Bruce.
Yeah, so thanks so much for offering that, Roger.
Okay, thank you, Bruce.
Okay.
Where am I? So that's most of the meeting. Thank you, everyone that participated. Thank you, Jeff, so much for that Aurora presentation. I really enjoyed it. Rick for doing the What's Up in the Sky. David for that beautiful poem. And John and Bruce as well. Thank you very much for your presentations. Just to close, on Wednesdays, we have members Zoom social, which is an opportunity to chat and discuss broadly what we were up to. If it's cloudy, we find things to talk about anyway. To join, an email with the Zoom invitation is posted to the center's email chat list. I believe I have the date right. Tomorrow's April the 10th, right? There will be another Astrophotography 101 session tomorrow night. We will be focusing on end-to-end image processing. What I mean by that is having already established what best practices are for setting up your equipment and running an imaging session, you now should have, and calibrating that data, you now should have a set of master lights. And I'm taking this session to go from master lights in mono to an end color photo. I'll do it on screen and live with everybody in the Zoom. And I will be working with narrowband data. The target that I'm thinking about is NGC 2467 in Puppis, which is the Skull and Crossbones Nebula, I believe. So anyone that's a member of the center is welcome to. You probably would have seen the announcement with the chat with the Zoom link on either Sunday or Monday. I'm not sure which date, but it went into the chat. The monthly newsletter Regulus has been published. Thank you, Roger Hill, for that. And it can be found on the Kingston Centre website. We have a Facebook group at RASC Kingston Centre, and we have a YouTube channel at RASC Kingston Centre. A recording of this meeting will be posted to YouTube in a few days. So I know that some people couldn't make it tonight. They may have the option. They will check out the meeting on YouTube later. If you're not a member of the Kingston Centre, you're invited and welcome to join us. Just go to rasc.ca, click Join Now, select your center. For members, we will see you next Wednesday, April 16th, via Zoom for our Zoom social. Our next in-person meeting will be May the 14th at 7 p.m. Our meetings are held in Ellis Hall, room 225 at Queen's University in Kingston. Our speaker will be John Moores, who will present on his book, Daydreaming in the Solar System. And we may have, this is all, as this is our plan, but with the strike situation, we cannot guarantee that we'll be in person again because of, even with this meeting, we had to make last minute changes because of the strike. So hopefully we see John Moores at the next meeting. And also John Criswick has a presentation on a dark sky project locally, which is the NWNC Dark Sky Project, and that is the Narrows Lock, Westport, Newborough, Chaffee's Lock region, which if you live in this area, you know where that is. I would like to add that Rick Wagner had originally been scheduled to be our in-person speaker this month. And looking at the calendar, Rick, we will probably be looking at the first meeting after the summer to have your in-person presentation on photometry. But I'm sure many of our members are looking forward to seeing it, especially in person. So that is the end of the meeting. It was great seeing everybody on the Zoom tonight. And
May I?
Thank you all.
May I say something before we all check in?
Absolutely, of course you can.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to comment that anybody who wants to take part, anyone who doesn't have the chat list access, if you don't want the chat list, but you would like to get the reminder for the Wednesday Zoom, the regular social hour that we have, just send an email to the center email list, and I will and I can add you to the notification. I have 6 people who are not doing the chat list, but they like to be reminded every month of or every week of the other stuff. That's all.
Okay. Thanks, Susan. Good reminder.
Can I just say one more thing?
Go ahead, sure.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to send a chat to Roger. I don't know if he's still here or not, but if you could send Roger, are you still here?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so if you could just send me your email so I can communicate with you directly, that would be great. Do you have my email?
If you've posted on the chat list, I can find you.
Yeah, I did post on the chat list actually. I can see it here, but it says maybe it might be under John Hurley. I don't know. I don't think it went to the, oh dear.
I think it would be probably easier for Roger to find yours, and then just Roger can send you an email, and you guys can take it from there.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, it's not an interruption at all.
Okay, thanks very much.
Probably the way to go. And so now this is the end of the meeting, but I'll keep the Zoom open for another 10 minutes or so if people want to keep chatting.
Mhm.
Does that work for you?